Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. ASU unfortunately falls short after mounting a huge comeback, and it's just ASU. They went into the Peach Bowl, they played against Texas, and they were on the ropes in the first half, guys. And they came out in the second half. They drove all the way down the field. They didn't get any points out of it, but the safety is where it really turned, guys. Now, big picture. This is Cam Scadaboo's final game as an Arizona State Sun Devil, and what a game he had.
In the
But
record books.
yes, and Peach Bowl MVP, all that. But there are guys that are going to be coming back. We talked about that earlier today and last night when Kenny Dillingham got his contract extension. You see Sam Levitt running for his life a lot today. That's something that's got to be fixed, obviously, next year. But that's the point. Sam Levitt is going to be back next year, and he brought them to within 8 points of going to a semifinal in the college football playoffs.
Yeah. Let's temper our credit to Levitt here. And, Cam Scadaboo is the one who got this comeback taken care of. And, he was the one dominating the game in the fourth quarter, throwing touchdowns as well as catching 2 point, or I'm not even sure what he did at this point. I mean, just insane effort from him overall on the game. Obviously, ASU wouldn't be where they got this season without Scadaboo, and they certainly wouldn't have been in such a good position to win the Peach Bowl if not for Scadaboo as well.
The 4th and 13 is going to haunt a lot of us. Kenny Dillingham said it was his fault because they were in cover zero, and when you're in cover zero, someone could possibly get open, and that's exactly what happened. ASU had a chance to win this ball game in the first overtime, and it was not to be, guys.
Yeah, it wasn't to be, but I just want to go big picture here. None of us expected this season. ASU has, up to this point, provided the best opponent, has been the best opponent of any of these college football playoff teams. This was the best game of the playoff by a lot.
And as we're speaking, Oregon is down 24-0 to Ohio State.
Yeah,
undefeated Oregon.
Pretty much all of these games have been, not very competitive, and this one was an incredible competitive game. I'm gonna use an analogy and say this is like the first Rocky movie where Rocky goes the distance. ASU went the distance with Texas in this game. They gave it all they had, and they can be upset about the loss for sure, but this is one of those things where, like in the Rocky movies, they come back next year and potentially they win. This year, they just proved that they belong. And there were so many doubters. There's so many people. ASU should have been playing last night in the Fiesta Bowl. And after what we saw today, they might have been the second best team in the country for all we know after what we're seeing out of Oregon.
Let's slow the roll a little bit here, but
ASU coming into, and I've said this to you guys, ASU coming into this game was playing like the second best team in the country, and with Oregon down 24-0 at the half. I mean, listen, Texas didn't play all that well today.
Yeah, I don't think
ASU kind of lost this game. I don't think Texas really won it. They executed the plays they needed to down the stretch in terms of the 4th and 13. They had the exact right play call for that. The 2-point conversion down in the second overtime, the exact right play call for that. So, and obviously the touchdown that led to the 2-point conversion. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. But in terms of Texas, ASU lost this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, ASU lost this game with kind of their execution from the first half and the early part of the second half, where they failed in the red zone. Those failed red zone trips were why ASU lost this game. Not because Texas is this incredible, amazing team. I think, again, like
I will say, their front seven is spectacular.
Yeah,
and
they were.
Yeah.
But as far as a team goes, as far as a team itself goes, ASU, again, they lost this game. It wasn't Texas winning this game personally. I mean, ASU should have won in that overtime on a 4th and long. Like, there's so many things that you could go through. But yet again, I don't think it really matters. ASU made it to the college football playoff and gave Texas, like freaking Texas, who's won national championships, who's had, guys like Colt McCoy at their program, guys like Ricky Williams, Heisman Trophy winner. Like, this is a storied program, and ASU almost beat them. So everything this year is gravy, and you've just got to remember that with this loss. Like, yes, it might suck in the moment, and ASU should have done things better to win this game, but they showed that they belonged in a college football playoff, and that the sky is the limit for this program moving forward, especially now that their coach has been extended for many years.
Yeah, the thing that I thought about right when the game ended, though, guys, is I don't know when we're going to see something like this again. You would hope that this is just the start of something for Arizona State, but that's what people thought back in 96/97. I mean, for Arizona State, they have a lot of work to do. They were exposed in some areas today, I will say, specifically the trenches on offense. I think there has to be some sort of overhaul of this offensive line. They got to protect Sam Levitt, man. That guy had 1 second to throw all game until the fourth quarter, when Texas's defense seemed to be on the field the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's a little funny you bring up the offensive line, because we saw how after last season, Colorado and Coach Sanders, who, shout out to him, he gave a lot of credit to Coach
Kenny was
Dillingham.
asked about
that
that
was really cool.
Kenny was asked about that in the presser. He's like, a lot of respect for Coach Prime, but I'm really just care about these players.
Right, yeah. And so it brings me back to what Prime did over at Colorado last year, where, it was very clear they needed to beef up the offensive line, and that's exactly what they did. Obviously, this year, Shadur wasn't perfectly protected this season. That's never going to happen for anyone, but, they got improvements along the line to open him up to have this season that is going to probably end up with him as the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Obviously, Sam Levitt putting himself in position now where next season he's going to be in position to compete for the Heisman. He's going to be in position to compete for a first-round draft pick, potentially first overall pick. We'll see how he goes with that. But, we heard him mention in the post-game press conference that you were at, Jeremy, that, he's referring to next year as his last year, it sounds like.
That's what he said. Yeah. He said, I have 1 more year. So, I mean, Jesse, you brought that up earlier this week when we were talking. You said that, he has a chance that if he plays really well next year, that ASU might be looking for a quarterback after next season.
But, yeah, that's very reasonable, and I think that sorry that my camera fell. Okay. I think that the only way that ASU gets, not the only way, but I think that he is the key for sustaining this year over year to the next season, because I think he is going to be their. It's going to shift from Scadaboo being their best player to Sam now being their best player, and he's going to be the key to get them back into this position. And again, if they don't get into this position, if they end up in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but they have 10 wins, again, not a failure. It's a step back, but it's not a failure. So I just want to.
It's just like I was thinking about this after the game. I brought it up a few minutes ago. I don't want to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl. Like that. This feels like I want this to be the new normal, guys. Like,
yeah, and I think it will be. I'm just saying that there's going to be years in there where they do end up at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and that's fine because only 12 teams make the playoff, and the Big 12
year we'll see what happens with the playoff going forward, because it'll definitely be changed.
But it's hard to get in the playoff. They didn't really respect the Big 12 this year. Probably should have respected the Big 12 this year. Like maybe that BYU team should have been in this field of 12. But yeah, I think that overall, I mean, like, I think moving forward, we're going to see this every now and then where ASU goes to the playoff, like at least 2 out of like every 5 years. I think
I would hope so.
That's what I'm looking for here. Like I think that's what we're going to see under Kenny Dillingham, and it's not going to be. It's okay if they don't every single year. It's not like the program is totally regressing if they aren't in the playoff next season. But I do think that I expect them to win the Big 12 again next year.
They have expectations.
Yeah.
But as Damon knows, all of these Big 12 teams are doing really well in the portal. Texas Tech, especially.
Yeah. Now is when we get disappointed next year if they don't advance past this round. Now is when we get, disappointed.
It's like
this year with house money and gravy and all that jazz. But this year, next year is when you're like, okay, they've got to go and actually win. It's like my Rocky analogy. And the second movie he wins. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Okay. I want to talk real quick about the
from the 70s.
Jesse, the offensive line outlook going into beyond this year, because Leif Fatanu has been such a big key for this offense all year. And, we've heard about some guys who are planning to come back, Ben Coleman being maybe the biggest one, obviously a graduate student, one of the best players on the line, and, coming back for a chance to improve his draft stock. And another player who I'm really excited to see is Jalen Clem, an offensive lineman who came into this season kind of expecting him to be the starting left tackle all year long and, dealt with a pretty serious health issue that kept him out. It is going to be so awesome to see him if he's, ready for this step up back into football shape. And, who else ASU can get from the portal at the offensive line, as well as just the young guys that are developing under Coach Saga Tuatele, because, you see day in and day out that he's doing incredible work with these young guys who are all very big. And, I think we saw today with Texas that it's just a different animal when your linemen are as big as Texas's linemen are. And, ASU's got the young linemen that can develop into that. I think it'll be really cool to see how that position breaks out this offseason.
A couple things before we get out of here. Shout out to Sun Devil Nation. They traveled incredibly well here to Georgia. It was, I would say, 60-40 ASU to Texas fans here today. It was spectacular, a great atmosphere. The Texas fans were loud as well, so shout out to them for the people that did attend this game from Texas. So awesome to see the growth of this program is being shown in the people that are buying in as well. The fans that are showing up to the games. And I mean, Kenny Dillingham has said it. He wants people to pack that stadium in Tempe every single week. And that's going to be an expectation moving forward. The spring game, I expect that to be sold out next year.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, this has got to be one of those years where what Kenny talks about, we need more at the spring game. It's got to be a big crowd. I don't know about a sellout, but that lower bowl better be full.
Yeah. And then the other thing, they sorely missed Jordan Tyson in this game. They needed a guy that really
drops.
Yeah. They needed a guy that could get open. Shimon, that happens, but there was one that also Scatterboo dropped, also happens. I think just the route running was confusing at some points. Sam also didn't have a lot of time. There were a couple out routes to the sticks, and you saw it on the final interception that was an out route as well. And I think the timing was just off on some of these receivers. So that's something that Sam needs to work on as well. If your number one receiver is out, you got to work with the timing with these guys. And it just looked like today that the timing was a little off on some of those throws.
But a thing to know going forward with these receivers is like the talent that's coming in right now is going to prevent you from having your depth collapse the way it almost felt like it did today. Just in terms of, you don't have Jordan Tyson. Okay, here's Jalen Moss. Here's a much improved Malik McClain after a full offseason in the system and things like that. They're going to have options. We've talked about some of the big fish that could still be incoming in that position. We'll see how that goes if they're able to get a big X factor in that position. But, overall, I think that this team is going to be improving, consistently.
Jesse, early predictions for next season? You got any?
Oh my gosh, no! But I'm not going to give you any predictions for next season yet. It's too early.
I'll give you one.
But I want to talk about the
Wait,
targeting call, Jeremy.
Yeah,
oh,
Jesse
geez, we didn't
first.
even bring that up. Yeah, Jesse, go.
I've been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry. Well,
targeting.
you
Try to signal it.
Just say stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, the targeting call.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a bad call. If Shamari's call was targeting in the Big 12 championship game, boy, it was that a horrendous call.
It just looks so cut and dry.
Yeah,
too.
there's
It's not like Stovall was ducking or anything. He was catching the ball. He was catching the ball.
I know he came back in and he probably shouldn't have. But he looked like he was pretty much knocked out there. And I don't know how that's not a targeting. Like, do they care about player safety? Like, does college football care about player safety? Or are they just cool with guys just going out there and launching their heads at people? Because that's what it seemed like to me. Also, I do have questions about this. You know, I would like to talk to the College Football Playoff Committee. I would, because, I mean, it's this call favored the SEC team. If in the reverse, if this was ASU, really? They're going to get that call?
Allred had a call
that was
borderline too.
Way more borderline. This was not borderline, Jeremy. This was not borderline, and it's ridiculous.
Again, but
now,
for
I want
Allred,
to say, hold on. I want to say this real quick. ASU lost because they weren't able to convert in the red zone enough, and they turned the ball over on 4th down. But that targeting call would have sustained the drive at the end of the game, and they might not even have had to go into overtime. You never know what could have happened, and I do really have some questions about it because it favored the SEC team. And if in a sport where a lot of people have questions about this whole like SEC bias, to favor a call like that for an SEC team is pretty bad and a pretty bad optics look. So I got a lot of questions.
Damon, your thoughts real quick before we get out of here.
Similar to the ASU Cincinnati game, in which that was a loss and, you know, they didn't have Sam Levitt. I think that not having Sam Levitt was not a top 3 reason they lost.
I
know.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So I don't think Sam Levitt's availability was a top 3 reason why they lost that game. I don't think the targeting non-call is a top 3 reason that ASU lost this game today. Obviously, it is a big reason. And, you know, if you go back and change it to what it probably should have been, then ASU has a much better chance of getting out without even dealing with overtime. But, you know, you bring it back to the 3 4th down mishaps in the first 3 quarters. And, you know, all the red zone ineffectiveness. I don't think you can purely pin it on one call and just say, here's the game.
The block kick before the half as well, I thought that was just it, right? But yeah, man, this team
thought there were times when it was it in the 4th quarter too.
Yeah, but this team just fought, and that is something that we can look forward to for this Sun Devil team, because they have a coach in Kenny Dillingham that obviously motivated them to turn it around in the second half. All right, guys. Well, ASU loses this one. They're out of the college football playoff. They have a lot to be proud of. I don't think that's what the locker room is thinking about right now, but we are proud of them. I don't want to speak for you guys, but as a Sun Devil alum myself, I'm very proud to be a Sun Devil today. And you know, this is insane, just being here in Atlanta, looking around at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and seeing the Sun Devil logo next to the college football playoff quarterfinal. It's
I'm proud of them, and I hope that we can be as proud of this men's basketball team coming up here, because that's what we move into.
God, why do you have to bring that up? They lost by 20 to BYU.
I'm making sure that we keep our listeners and our watchers, continue, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with the basketball here coming up.
That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find us on all forms of social media at AV Sports Devils. You can find all of Damon's articles on the Arizona Sports app and on ArizonaSports.com. For Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you soon.